Liam Prescott was the kind of man who preferred early mornings and quiet water. After a messy divorce and years of climbing ladders he never wanted, he'd traded concrete for pine trees. And when his father passed, leaving him a long-forgotten lake lot nestled just outside Coldwater Ridge, Liam took it as a sign, a fresh start, a place to breathe. It was modest, just under an acre of grass, pine, and shoreline, but it was his. It had taken months to clear the overgrowth, fix up the gravel entrance, and set up a trailer to stay in while planning his cabin build. He didn't blast music. He didn't throw parties. Most days, he barely made a sound louder than the wind through the trees. Until that Saturday morning, a faint buzzing turned into a growl, then a screech of tires. A golf cart rolled up the road like it owned the dust beneath it, and at the wheel was a woman dressed for work, clipboard in hand, sunglasses sharp as daggers, and a scowl that didn't budge. Karen Greaves, HOA president, Coldwater Ridge's self-appointed queen of order. "Excuse me," she barked, not bothering. "With introductions, this land is restricted." Liam blinked. "This is my property. Got the deed right here." He reached into his back pocket and unfolded a slightly worn paper, county stamped, surveyor signed. He held it out. Karen didn't even glance at it. "Doesn't matter," she said with a flat voice. "Your trailer is an eyesore, and you're violating shoreline aesthetics." Liam narrowed his eyes. "Aesthetics? We have rules. My son saw this lot first. You can't just throw your stuff down where people like to enjoy the view." Liam didn't raise his voice. He wasn't wired that way. "Your son saw it first." "Yes, he was kayaking last summer, pointed this spot out. We were considering it, but I own it," Liam replied slowly, lifting the deed an inch higher, as if maybe her eyes had missed it. "That remains to be seen." With that, she spun the cart around and disappeared into a trail of dust, leaving Liam standing there, jaw clenched, heart pounding louder than it should have been. He didn't know it then, but that moment, that single, ridiculous sentence, it was only the beginning. The next day, Liam noticed something odd. His gravel entrance had new tire marks, fresh, smaller treads that curved around his parked trailer. Nothing stolen, nothing damaged, just tracks. He shook it off. Until Tuesday, a bright orange notice had been zip-tied to his gate. Warning, non-compliant structure, subject to fine. It was signed by the Coldwater Ridge, HOA. Karen's name printed in all caps at the bottom. Liam sighed, grabbed his phone, and called the number on the notice. He got voicemail, standard, robotic, unfriendly. So he did the next best thing. He drove 10 minutes to the county office and requested the HOA's guidelines. The clerk, an older man with glasses that kept sliding off his nose, pulled out a dusty binder. "You sure this is your land?" the clerk asked. "Positive." "Then don't let M push you. They try this all the time." Liam took the binder, sat down at a corner desk, and flipped through it page by page. Nothing in the HOA rules applied to his undeveloped private lot, especially not since it sat just outside the official HOA development boundaries. He wasn't even technically part of the association. Still, the next morning, his padlock was gone, replaced by one with the silver HOA logo stamped on the latch. It was then he realized this wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was a message. He wasn't welcome, and someone had decided to make that official. That night, Liam sat on the tailgate of his truck, staring at the lake. A pair of geese glided by under the fading sun. His dog, Ranger, a quiet black lab, rested beside him. "They're gonna push," Liam muttered, patting Ranger's head. "But we'll push back." The breeze shifted, leaves rustled. Somewhere deep in the pines, an owl called out, and just behind it, the soft click of tires on gravel. Karen was back. She didn't get out, just watched, then turned her cart around, slowly, deliberately. That was the moment Liam knew. This wasn't about rules. It wasn't even about land. This was about control, and he was about to fight for every inch of it. By Monday morning, Liam's lake lot didn't feel like a sanctuary anymore. It felt like a chessboard, and he hadn't made the first move. Still, he wasn't about to be run off by someone with a golf cart and a god complex. The wind carried a stillness that morning, but when Liam stepped outside his trailer with his thermos of black coffee, that stillness snapped like a twig. 3 identical letters, each sealed in a plastic sleeve, were nailed to different trees on the edge of his lot. Notice of unauthorized trailer placement penalty, $100 day. Accruing authority, Coldwater Ridge HOA. Liam ripped them down, one by one. He wasn't even in their jurisdiction. His lot wasn't listed on their membership map. He wasn't subject to their dues, their landscaping rules, or their petty drama. But that didn't seem to matter to Karen. He drove straight to the Coldwater Ridge HOA office, a single-room trailer tucked between a playground and a tennis court. Inside, 3 people sat at folding tables. One of them, of course, was Karen. The other 2 were her loyal Lieutenant Suzanne, who once tried to get a neighbor fined for using the wrong mulch color, and Barry, who thought every truck was a commercial vehicle. Liam walked in holding but notices. "I'd like to know why you're harassing me." Karen barely looked up. "This meeting is private. You left these on my property," he said, slapping the notices on the table. Barry leaned forward, adjusting his glasses like a detective from a B-grade crime show. Your trailer violates Section 8B of our structure code. Liam pulled out his folder of the deed, a copy of the survey, and a printout of the HOA jurisdiction map. I'm not part of Coldwater Ridge HOA. Never signed. Never agreed. This lot's outside your governing boundary. Karen didn't flinch. We're working on annexing the lakeside lots. Preemptive enforcement is in place to preserve neighborhood values. Liam stared at her. Annexing you can't retroactively. Apply rules to land you don't own. The community has standards, Karen replied, calm and smug. Your lot reflects poorly on the view. My son likes to kayak here. He was heartbroken. That last line wasn't just ridiculous, it was strategic. She was turning this into an emotional battle. Liam leaned in. Tell your son, heartbreak builds character. Karen's eyes narrowed. You'll regret that. As he turned to leave, Susan whispered loud enough for him to hear. We should have bought that lot last year, she warned us. That line stuck in his ears longer than it should have. Later that evening, Liam installed the first 2 trail cameras, one near the gravel drive, another tucked into a pine tree facing the lakeside brush. He wasn't a paranoid man, but something about Karen's calm confidence chilled him. She wasn't threatening him out of anger. She was doing it out of certainty, as if she'd already seen how the game ended. The next morning confirmed it. His gravel was torn up. Tire ruts from something heavy like an ATV or small truck had carved deep trenches beside the trailer. His gate had been forcibly opened, the lock twisted, not cut. No one around claimed to have seen a thing. Liam checked the trail cam. Sure enough, 2 12 a.m. headlights, 2 figures, one tall, one smaller. Karen and her son. They weren't vandalizing, they were inspecting. At the hardware store that afternoon, a quiet man in line behind Liam nudged him. You're Prescott, right? Yeah, I live to lots over. Karen's trying to get us all under HOA control. Started last year. You're just the first to push back. Why doesn't anyone say anything? Because she's got them convinced it's for property values. Most of us just want to be left alone. Liam exhaled slowly. I'm not going anywhere. Then be ready. She plays dirty. Real dirty. That night, Liam wrote everything down. Dates, times, witnesses, HOA letters, screenshots from the trail cams. He wasn't going to fight Karen with fists or threats. He was going to bury her with facts. But before he could print it all out, headlights swept across the trees again. Another car. Same routine. He didn't move. He just watched from the shadows of his trailer. Karen's son got out, walked to the gate, and hung something. Liam waited 10 minutes, then retrieved it. A new notice. Trespass warning. Vacate immediately. 48 hours. This one wasn't signed by the HOA. It was signed by Karen personally. The third morning started like the others, quiet. Blue light on the lake. Steam curling off Liam's coffee. Ranger trotted along the shoreline, sniffing driftwood and chasing the occasional crow. Liam had slept in his clothes. Trail cam footage pulled up on his laptop, his phone fully charged beside him. Something in his gut told him the 48-hour threat wasn't just a bluff. And Liam always listened to his gut. At 6:12 a.m., he heard it. Sirens, fast, closer than they should have been too. Sheriff cruisers kicked up a cloud of dust as they turned off the county road onto the gravel path leading to Liam's lot. Doors slammed. Boots crunched. One officer had a hand on his holster. Ranger barked but didn't charge. Liam raised both hands instinctively. Morning, he said carefully. Can I help you? We got a 911 call, one deputy said, eyes scanning. The trailer. Caller reported an armed trespasser on HOA property, said you were refusing to leave and making threats. Liam's brows furrowed. Wait, what? I live here. This is my land. Do you have ID? Deed? Any paperwork? Liam nodded and calmly reached for the folder in his chair. Inside were laminated copies of everything. His deed, county records, survey maps, and 3 photos of Karen and her son from the trail cams. He handed them over. The deputies flipped through the documents. One of them, the younger one, took his head. Says here you're not within the HOA, correct? Liam said. They're trying to annex my property without any legal authority. Last night someone posted this. He handed over the personal trespass warning with Karen's signature. The deputy's eyebrows rose. She signed this herself. She did. And that's her and her son, Liam said, pointing to the grainy photo on the cam still. Cutting my lock 2 nights ago. The lead deputy sighed. He was older, built like a man who'd seen too many divorces and power struggles over lawn lines. We'll need to speak with the caller. She's right up the road. HOA trailer. They nodded. One deputy stayed behind, clearly gauging Liam's temperament. You weren't armed this morning. The only thing I'm armed with is caffeine and a tired dog. The deputy gave a faint smile. 20 minutes later, the other cruiser returned. This time, the tension was gone. She admitted to placing the trespass sign. The deputy said, stepping out of the car, said you've been disturbing the natural balance of the community. What does that even mean? No idea, but we're marking this as a false report. Do you want to press charges? Liam looked out at the lake. The golden early sun was now fully risen, calm and quiet. Just like it used to be before all this nonsense started. Not yet, he muttered. But she's going to keep pushing. We'll log everything. Document it. But you're in the clear. You've got every right to be here. Before they left, the younger deputy leaned out the window. Watch your back. That lady's more politician than neighbor. That afternoon, Liam walked to the edge of his lot and leaned against a weathered birch tree, looking out at the path. It didn't take long. Karen's golf cart rolled into view. This time, she was alone. No clipboard. Just sunglasses, red lipstick, and it looked like she was ready for a courtroom drama. She didn't stop, she didn't wave, just stared at him as she passed. Liam didn't move. He didn't blink. She was testing him again, but now he had documentation, law enforcement logs, and undeniable proof of her harassment. And more importantly, now she knew he wasn't going anywhere. Later that evening, Liam set up a third trail cam, this one inside a birdhouse he'd hollowed out. He aimed it directly at the gravel path where Karen always passed. He knew the game now. She wasn't going to attack head-on anymore. She'd shift to paperwork, whispers, and community concern meetings, and if she couldn't win the land, she'd try to make it unlivable. But Liam had lived through worse. He didn't run from conflict. He built cabins through it. When night fell, Liam sat by the fire pit with Ranger at his feet and watched the stars peek through the trees. He thought about his dad, how he used to say, the best revenge is living where they can't ignore you. Liam smirked. I think you'd like this mess, old man. A loon called out across the lake. Peaceful, almost mocking, but deep in the woods another sound, stirred twigs snapping. Someone watching, or maybe just Karen's son lurking again. Still convinced a pointed finger meant possession, Liam turned on the motion sensor lights and leaned back. Whatever came next, he'd be ready. The week crawled by like fog over the lake, quiet on the surface, but heavy underneath. Liam's trailer remained in place, untouched. The lot was clean. The grass trimmed, no firewood stacked too high, no reason for complaint. But the silence didn't comfort him. It warned him. Because Karen wasn't the type to lose and walk away. On Friday afternoon, a folded flyer appeared in Liam's mailbox, one of those HOA newsletters with clip art borders and cheery fonts. The kind that hid venom in every line. Emergency community vote. Protect our shoreline. All residents are encouraged to attend Saturday's HOA meeting to vote on a proposed reclassification of lakeside access parcels. Coldwater Ridge must remain a peaceful, aesthetic retreat for families. Community values must be preserved. Liam, read between the lines. The translation? Let's pretend to vote Liam off his own land. He arrived at the Coldwater Ridge clubhouse 15 minutes early. The room was already half full, mostly retirees in pastel polos, sipping lemonade and pretending. This wasn't about one man and one lot. Karen stood at the front like a preacher at her pulpit, clipboard in hand, flanked by Susan and Barry. We're gathered to address growing concerns, she announced, about unauthorized use of land that compromises lake access and community character. Someone in the back nodded like a bobblehead. A few others murmured in agreement. The HOA proposes to classify the lakeside lots as shared community recreational zones. This will restrict private occupation without board approval. Liam raised his hand. No response. He stood up. That's illegal. All eyes turned. My lot is outside your jurisdiction. You can't reclassify land you don't own. Karen smiled politely, sharp and thin. We're not changing ownership. We're protecting the view. Your presence has caused multiple complaints. From whom? Liam asked. Silence. He held up his folder. I have a copy of the original HOA boundary map filed with the county. My lot sits outside the development line. I am not a member. You can't find me. Vote me out, or redefine my land to fit your narrative. A few attendees shifted uncomfortably. One older woman near the back whispered to her husband. A young father stood up, confused. Wait, he's not in the HOA? Karen's voice hardened. This meeting isn't about legal lines. It's about community health. Community health. Liam repeated, almost laughing. Is that why you called 911 and claimed I was armed? The room went quiet. Karen's expression cracked just slightly. That call was made out of caution. It was false reporting. The sheriff confirmed it, and unless anyone here wants to be dragged into a harassment suit, I suggest this vote doesn't happen. Barry shifted in his seat, clearly nervous. Susan whispered something to Karen, but Karen pushed forward, all in favor of the proposal. To reclassify the lakeside lots as shared recreational zones, a few hesitant hands rose. Not many. Karen froze. Then counted. 5 votes for, 2 abstain. And how many lots are represented here? Liam asked loudly. A man in the corner cleared his throat. 27. Liam nodded. Your vote doesn't meet quorum. He pulled out the HOA's own bylaws, section 4, paragraph 3. Any reclassification vote requires majority representation of total lots. You've got less than 30% present. This meeting is invalid. Karen's face flushed. We'll reconvene. Good luck with that, Liam said, gathering his folder, because next time I'll be bringing a lawyer. He stepped out into the sun, the late afternoon warm on his face. A few homeowners caught up to him outside. We didn't know, one of them said. We just assumed you were part of the HOA. That's what she wants everyone to assume, Liam replied. And if I hadn't shown up tonight, that lie would have become policy. What now? Another asked. Liam paused. Now, I document everything. because Karen isn't done. That night, he emailed the county zoning office with a full timeline of event states, photos, recordings, and a scanned copy of the newsletter. He CC'd a local attorney who'd offered a free consultation, but the next morning, he saw something that made his stomach knot. Another notice. This one stapled to his utility pole. Unsafe structure, code violation, subject to immediate removal. Signed. Again, in thick black marker, Karen Greaves, HOA president, no official seal, no citation number, no agency listed, just her name, and her arrogance. Liam stared at it for a long moment before slowly tearing it down. You just crossed into criminal territory, Karen, he whispered, and this time, he wasn't going to wait before fighting back. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. Liam Prescott had learned a long time ago, silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes it's the sound of something being planned. He didn't move the trailer, didn't pack a single box, but he did install 2 more trail cams and 1 old hunting camera he'd used for scouting elk in Montana Iris. Infrared, silent shutter. He aimed it directly at the path Karen always used to loop around his lot. Then he waited. It didn't take long. Thursday morning, Liam reviewed the cam footage from the night before. At 2:34 a.m., a figure crept across the edge of his property. Baggy hoodie, flashlight, moving slow, deliberate. It wasn't Karen this time. It was her son Jeremy, 16, maybe 17. Long legs, twitchy posture. He wasn't vandalizing anything, not yet. He was scouting. Marking. Liam exhaled and saved the file. He was building a case now, whether he wanted to or not. That evening, just before sundown, Liam heard Ranger growl from the front of the trailer. Not a bark, just that low warning rumble. Liam stepped outside. His firewood pile had been scattered. Some of it had been urinated on. A plastic bag of old fish guts had been dumped on the edge of the gravel, and scrawled on the side of his trash. Ben in red spray paint were 3 words. Get out, Liam didn't yell, didn't chase anyone. He just walked back inside, grabbed a pair of gloves, cleaned it all up, then pulled the SD cards from every camera. This time, the footage was better too. Kids Jeremy and a friend both clearly visible, both laughing as they tossed the trash and spray painted the bin. One of them even pointed toward the trailer, flipping it off before running back to their bikes. He sent it all to the sheriff's department, and copied the local precinct's community officer. That same night, Liam received another letter. This time, it wasn't a warning or a flyer, it was in an unmarked envelope, inside a single typed page. Mr. Prescott, due to repeated violations and refusal to comply with Coldwater Ridge HOA standards, we hereby inform you that all future developments on your property will require pre-approval by the board. Failure to comply will result in legal action, fines, or forced removal of unauthorized structures. Sincerely, Coldwater Ridge Homeowners Association President Karen Greaves. But Liam noticed something strange. The letter was dated 5 days earlier before the community vote, before the newsletter, before the scattered wood and vandalism. And the envelope? No postage, no delivery mark. It had been hand-delivered. Liam turned the paper over. There was a faint watermark from Karen's law firm. Dazed, the kind of letterhead she must have still had in her home office. It wasn't just a threat. It was premeditated. She had planned the vote after this was already typed. She had no interest in democracy. She'd already made up her mind. Liam scanned the letter, added it to the growing digital folder he called HOA harassment, and then made 3 phone calls to his lawyer. To the county zoning office, and to a reporter from the Coldwater Ledger, local journalist named Aaron Cordell, who'd once written an expose about HOA corruption in the next county over. By morning, Aaron called back. I've seen this kind of thing before, she said. They call it paper warfare. Overwhelm the property owner with enough fake authority that they just give up. I'm not giving up. Then I'd love to cover it. That afternoon, Aaron arrived with a camera, a notepad, and a quiet, serious tone. She didn't sensationalize anything. She asked smart questions. She took photos of Liam's lot, the fake citations, the trail cam stills. If this runs, Karen's going to lose it, she said. Just be prepared. Liam gave a tired smile. She declared war the day she said her son saw it first. I'm just catching up. But that night, as Liam was closing the trailer windows against the breeze, he smelled it. Smoke, not a campfire, burning plastic. He ran outside, heart thudding. Behind the trailer, a small pile of scrap lumber was smoldering, embers glowing, ash drifting toward the dry pine needles nearby. Someone had lit it and left it to catch. Ranger barked wildly. Liam grabbed a shovel and a bucket of lake water, and doused the flames just in time. He didn't sleep that night. He sat in a lawn chair with his flashlight and a bat beside him, watching the woods, listening for footsteps, and realizing something deeper than annoyance was now at play. This wasn't just Karen wanting a quiet view. This was personal, and Liam wasn't about to back down. Not now, not ever. By Monday morning, Coldwater Ridge didn't feel so cold anymore. It felt combustible. The attempted arson wasn't just a scare tactic, it was a turning point. Liam knew it. Karen probably knew it. And soon, the entire town would know it too. The smoke damage was minimal, but the message was loud. This wasn't about violations, it was about erasure. And so, Liam lit a match of his own. He called Erin Cordell back. She'd already begun writing the article. But when she heard about the fire, her voice sharpened. "I'll be there in an hour," she said, "and I'm bringing a camera crew this time." By noon, Erin and her videographer stood beside Liam at the edge of his lake lot, her mic clipped to her collar, hair pulled back, eyes laser-focused. Liam told the story. He didn't exaggerate. He didn't throw around accusations he couldn't prove. He just walked Erin through it, starting with the first bogus HOA notice, through the 911 false report, all the way to the glowing embers behind his trailer. The camera caught it all. The padlocked gate, the spray-painted bin. The fake citations, the scorched wood pile. "What do you hope happens now?" Erin asked him. "I want the truth to break the silence," Liam said. "This isn't about one lot, it's about power. And the people who think they can bend rules until they snap." They finished filming just as the sky clouded over. Liam offered them coffee, but Erin declined. "We'll edit tonight. Story goes live in the morning." Liam figured Karen wouldn't find out until the piece aired. He was wrong. She found out that night, at 7:13 p.m. As the sun dropped behind the trees, her golf cart appeared again, this time screeching into view, tires spitting gravel. Karen stormed up to Liam's trailer, lips pursed so tight they looked stitched shut. "You brought in the press." Liam didn't answer right away. He was standing on the porch, arms crossed, camera already rolling from the window behind him. "You tried to burn down my property," he said evenly. "I brought in the truth." "That's slander," she hissed. "No, it's evidence." She stepped closer, finger outstretched like a dagger. "You're ruining this community. My son's scared to walk past here. People are uncomfortable. Your son spray-painted my trash can and trespassed at 2 a.m. I've got it all on tape." Karen's eyes flicked toward the trail cam on the tree. She hesitated for just a second too long. "You want attention?" She spat. Then she turned and marched back to her cart, tires squealing again as she disappeared down the gravel. The next morning, the story broke. Headline: Lake Lot Standoff. HOA harassment or power grab. Erin's story hit every detail. The video interviews played side by side with trail cam stills, and the burning woodpile. A map of the HOA boundary flashed across the screen with Liam's lot clearly marked outside. Within 2 hours, the story had over 30,000 views online. The sheriff's department issued a public statement. They confirmed a recent fire incident, and noted an ongoing investigation into potential criminal mischief and harassment. Liam's phone buzzed with messages. Some neighbors sent support, others remained silent. But then something happened that changed the entire game. The sheriff's department returned, not just for a statement but with a warrant. They visited Karen's home, they confiscated her security system hard drive, they took in her son for questioning, and they impounded the red gas can that still sat half hidden behind her garage. Fury wasn't visible anymore. It was contained behind curtains and closed doors. The whispering had started, not about Liam, but about her. Later that evening, Liam stood by the lake, Ranger at his side, and watched as 2 patrol cars rolled slowly down Coldwater Lane toward the HOA clubhouse. He didn't smile, he didn't celebrate, he just felt tired because this hadn't started with fire or cops or newspapers. It had started with a simple sentence: "My son saw it first." And now, it was unraveling everything Karen had built: her influence, her iron grip on the neighborhood, her illusion of control. But Liam knew better than to think it was over, because people like Karen, they always had one more move, and he could feel it coming. By the end of the week, Coldwater Ridge was cracking like a dry branch under pressure. The HOA board had called an emergency meeting closed to the public, but word got out fast. Karen had been forced to temporarily suspend herself as president, pending investigation. Her son had been officially cited for trespassing and vandalism. Deputies had returned for follow-up interviews. But Liam wasn't celebrating, not yet, because in all the noise media coverage, angry emails, late-night phone calls, something still didn't make sense. Something deeper than just ego or entitlement. Karen hadn't just been bold, she'd been strategic. She knew the lot wasn't hers, knew it was outside HOA jurisdiction. So why risk everything? Why burn her credibility to the ground? Then came the email. Liam's lawyer, Abby Chen, had been digging through county archives for weeks, looking for old easement documents, utility rights, land grants, anything that might explain Karen's obsession with his land. "Got something?" her email read. "You're going to want to sit down." The next morning, Liam met Abby at the county recorder's office. She was already waiting, a worn manila folder in hand. "This is from 1974, she said, long before the HOA existed. A private easement agreement filed by the original lakefront developer. Look at paragraph 6. Liam read the line twice before it hit him. Permanent access and dock rights granted to Lot 1 to be as primary launch point for adjacent tracts 13 through 16 during periods of shared ownership. Abby nodded. Lot 12 byte Karen's property. Tract 15. Back then, none of those rear parcels had legal lakefront access. They used your shared but only while the land was under joint ownership. And now, Now you own one to be privately. The shared easement dissolved when your father bought it outright. Karen's land has no legal right to the shoreline anymore. Liam blinked, then laughed under his breath. So the entire time, she wasn't just trying to harass me. She was trying to take back the only access to the lake her home was ever legally allowed to use. Abby finished. The truth was sharper than any insult Karen had thrown. Her son hadn't just seen it first. Karen had been watching it for months, maybe years. She knew exactly what the lot meant. Not just a pretty view, but exclusive access. Dot in Liam's presence. His trailer, his camera, his woodpile, they weren't just eyesores. They were a wall. Blocking her entitlement, that afternoon, Liam filed a motion with the county to enforce the easement termination. No more wiggle room, no ambiguity. He wanted it locked into public record that Karen's property had zero legal access through. His dot later that night, Erin Cordell called, "You need to see this." She forwarded a post from a private HOA forum that had been leaked to her. Karen's name wasn't on it directly, but the tone was unmistakable. "We've tolerated his arrogance long enough. If the system won't remove him, we'll make it so uncomfortable he chooses to leave." The neighborhood was built for families, not squatters. Liam stared at the screen, his pulse pounding. Even now after police reports, public shame, legal warnings, Karen wasn't done, but now, he had something she did single quotes to dot leverage. The following day, Liam printed the 1974 easement in triplicate and delivered copies to the sheriff's office. The county recorder. Every single member of the HOA board. He didn't say a word, just handed them the files and walked out. And by sunset, whispers were everywhere. 2 board members resigned. A third posted publicly on the HOA's community board, writing, "We were misled. The board was never informed about the easement history. I'm deeply sorry for the role I played." Karen, she went silent. Her golf cart didn't roll past anymore. Her son was nowhere to be seen. Her mailbox, overflowing. And just before midnight, Liam got a call from Karen. He let it ring 4 times before answering. "What do you want?" he asked, voice flat. "You made your point," she said coldly. "Not yet," he replied, "but I will." Click the next morning, the county inspector arrived with a final notice. Karen's private dock had been deemed illegal and was to be removed within 10 days due to non-permitted placement and easement violations. It wasn't just a blow, it was a collapse. The very access she'd tried to steal from Liam had cost her the only connection she ever legally had to the lake. That it took just 6 days for Karen's dock to come down to county trucks. 1 sheriff's cruiser and a local contractor showed up on a gray Thursday morning. No one from the Greaves house code came out to watch. No clipboard, no golf cart, no barking commands. Karen's reign at Coldwater Ridge had ended not with a dramatic outburst, but with the dull clang of metal pilings being unscrewed from the lakebed. Liam stood at the edge of his property, sipping coffee with Ranger by his side, watching it all happen in silence. He didn't smile. Not yet. Because while the structure was coming down, he knew something deeper had broken inside the community itself. Fear, obedience, silence, all the invisible tools Karen had used to rule the neighborhood gone. And in their place, accountability. The next HOA meeting was the first public one since the article aired. It was packed. People who hadn't shown up in years filled the folding chairs, crossing their arms and waiting for the show. But there was no show. Karen didn't appear. Her nameplate had been removed from the front table. Her chair left empty. In her place stood Daniel Mora, quiet, even-tempered neighbor who'd lived at the far end of Coldwater Ridge for almost a decade. He cleared his throat, looked out at the crowd, and said, "Before we begin, I'd like to issue an apology to Mr. Liam Prescott, to anyone who's been harassed or misled by this board, and to those of us who stayed silent when we should have spoken up." Liam was in the back row, baseball cap pulled low. People turned. A few nodded. One woman whispered, "Thank you." Daniel continued, "This board will no longer pursue reclassification of private property, will not enforce rules on parcels outside HOA boundaries, and will be reviewing every fine issued over the past 2 years for signs of abuse or misconduct." It wasn't just a course correction, it was a purge. 2 weeks later, Karen Greaves listed her home. The listing didn't mention the lake, didn't mention community access either. Just a standard 4-bedroom colonial with private setting and motivated seller in bold. Rumor was her son had been sent to stay with an aunt out of state. Rumor also had it that Karen had been quietly served with a letter from Liam's attorney. The day the moving truck pulled up, Liam stayed inside. He didn't need to see her go. She'd already lost. That fall, Liam finally began building the cabin. Not a massive structure, just a modest 2-bedroom with a screened-in porch, a small dock of his own, and windows that faced the rising sun. Neighbors stopped by more often now, brought coffee, offered lumber, shared stories they'd been too nervous to tell before about Karen's threats, her anonymous complaint letters, the way she used her title like a weapon. One neighbor, Mr. Denton, a retired Navy mechanic, stood with Liam by the frame one day and said, "We all thought she had power because she acted like she did. You reminded us that we get to decide who leads." Liam didn't respond. He didn't need to, the lake said. It all quiet, clear, free. Months passed. The cold water ledger ran a follow-up piece titled, From Harassed to Hero, Liam Prescott's Stand for Property Rights. It wasn't a headline he asked for, but when a teenager from 3 streets over biked by one morning, stopped, and said, "My dad says you're the guy who stood up to Karen." Liam gave a small nod and replied, "I'm the guy who built a cabin." Because to him, this was never about fame. It was about space, respect, peace. And now, he finally had it. One evening, just before winter's first frost, Liam sat on the dock with Ranger and watched the sky burn orange behind the trees. No signs. Posted. No golf carts pacing the drive. No false citations tacked to his fence. Just still water and the slow creak of settling pine. And for the first time in months, he exhaled fully. Not in defense, not in fear, but in peace. Final shot. The lake. Glass smooth, reflecting a completed cabin. Solid, still, and finally free. Fade to black.